The Imperium of Man, a sprawling, galaxy-spanning empire, stands as a bastion of order amidst the chaos of the universe. It is a civilization driven by unyielding faith in the God Emperor, a figure both divine and imperial, who unites humanity under his eternal vision. Yet, even within this fortress of devotion, shadows linger. Heresy festers like a disease, threatening to unravel the fabric of mankind's dominion. Heresy, in the context of the Imperium, is not merely the act of dissent or rebellion. It is the ultimate betrayal, an affront to the God Emperor and the sacred doctrines that hold the Imperium together. Whether it stems from a rogue planetary governor who questions the ecclesiarchy's authority or an inquisitive scholar who delves too deeply into forbidden lore, heresy is a cancer that must be excised at all costs. To combat this insidious threat, the Imperium has developed a brutal and unforgiving system of punishment, a reflection of its unyielding need for survival in an uncaring universe. The origins of this unforgiving stance lie in the dark pages of history. The Horus Heresy, a catastrophic civil war that nearly destroyed the Imperium in its infancy, serves as a stark reminder of the price of disloyalty. The echoes of that monumental betrayal have rippled through the millennia, shaping the Imperium's uncompromising stance against heretics. This history is not just a cautionary tale, but a guiding principle, fueling a relentless crusade to root out heresy wherever it may hide. Punishment within the Imperium is not simply about retribution. It is a spectacle, a dire warning to others who might consider straying from the Emperor's light. It encompasses a vast array of methods, ranging from psychological torment to grisly executions, all tailored to instill fear and ensure compliance. The forms of punishment are as diverse as the Imperium itself, varying between the hive cities of Necromunda, the noble courts of Terra, and the war-torn battlefields of the galaxy. Yet, they all serve a singular purpose: to demonstrate the cost of heresy in the most explicit terms possible. The duty of identifying, judging, and punishing heretics often falls to the Inquisition, an organization shrouded in secrecy and terror. With their vast powers, inquisitors wield the authority to accuse, try, and execute heretics on the spot, with no oversight save their own conscience. Their methods are as feared as they are effective, ensuring no heretic escapes unscathed. But they are not alone. The ecclesiarchy, arbites, and even the Adeptus Astartes play roles in this grim duty, forming a multifaceted apparatus to combat heresy across the galaxy. This video delves into the grim machinery of heretic punishment within the Imperium. It explores the key players who enact justice, the historical and theological roots that underpin their actions, and the horrifying methods employed to purify humanity's ranks. Along the way, we will uncover the impact of these punishments on the Imperium itself, from their effectiveness in maintaining order to the lingering questions they leave unanswered. Heresy is a death sentence not only for the individual, but also for their legacy, their family, and sometimes even their world. To understand how the Imperium punishes heretics is to glimpse the price of survival in a galaxy where betrayal can mean extinction. This is the story of a civilization that thrives on faith, fear, and fire, ever vigilant against those who would betray its sacred trust. The roots of heresy within the Imperium stretch deep into its history, originating long before the current era of unrelenting zealotry. The concept of heresy, as it is understood today, crystallized in the aftermath of one of humanity's greatest betrayals. When the Emperor's vision for a united galaxy faltered, it was not due to external threats, but from within, as trusted generals and allies turned against him. This internal treachery set the stage for the Imperium's obsessive vigilance and the draconian measures it employs to punish dissent. Heresy is more than a crime. It is a direct challenge to the divine authority of the Emperor. Its roots often lie in ideological deviation, questioning dogma, pursuing forbidden knowledge, or succumbing to alien influences. In the early days of the Imperium, such deviations were handled with relative leniency, often through re-education or exile. However, as the scale of rebellion grew, the punishments became harsher, evolving into the brutal practices that define the modern Imperium. One of the pivotal figures in shaping the Imperium's approach to heresy was Malcador the Sigillite. As the Emperor's trusted advisor, he foresaw the need for an organization to root out treachery and safeguard humanity's faith. It was under his direction that the seeds of the Inquisition were sown, a clandestine order tasked with identifying and eliminating threats to the Imperium's unity. While Malcador's vision was initially pragmatic, seeking to preserve the Emperor's dream, it has since evolved into a system defined by fear and unrelenting punishment. In the centuries following Malcador's death, the Inquisition grew into a vast and complex organization. Its agents, known as Inquisitors, operate with near unlimited authority, acting as judge, jury, and executioner. Each Inquisitor brings their own methodology and philosophy to the task, ranging from the cold precision of the Ordo Xenos to the fiery zealotry of the Ordo Hereticus. Among the most infamous of these figures is Torquemada Coteaz, whose reputation for ruthless efficiency made him both a legend and a cautionary tale. Coteaz's methods, including the use of psychic interrogation and mass purges, exemplify the extremes to which the Inquisition will go to root out heresy. While the Inquisition holds the ultimate authority in matters of heresy, it is far from the only entity involved in punishing traitors. The ecclesiarchy, as the spiritual heart of the Imperium, wields significant influence over how heresy is defined and addressed. Its priests and confessors not only preach the Emperor's word, but also act as arbiters of faith, ensuring that even the smallest deviation does not go unnoticed. The arch-cardinals of the ecclesiarchy are particularly influential, often orchestrating mass burnings and public trials to reinforce their authority and inspire fear. The Adeptus Arbites, the Imperium's enforcers of law and order, also play a crucial role. Tasked with maintaining the Emperor's peace, the Arbites frequently handle the apprehension and punishment of lesser heretics. Their infamous repressor vehicles and cybermastiffs are tools of both justice and terror, ensuring that even the lowliest hive-ganger understands the cost of defying the Emperor's will. Over time, the Arbites have become symbols of uncompromising justice, feared and respected in equal measure. However, not all heretics are dealt with through conventional means. In cases of widespread rebellion or ideological corruption, entire legions of warriors are called upon to enact the Emperor's justice. The Adeptus Astartes, humanity's genetically engineered warriors, have frequently been deployed to annihilate worlds deemed irredeemable. While their primary role is as soldiers, their involvement in punishing heretics underscores the gravity of such offenses. Notable examples include the destruction of traitorous planetary governments and the purging of heretical cults that threaten to destabilize entire sectors. Another key player in the machinery of punishment is the Adeptus Mechanicus. Though their relationship with the Imperium is complex, the Mechanicus holds no tolerance for heresy against their own techno-religious beliefs. Tech priests are known to deploy terrifying constructs, such as Skitarii legions and cybernetic monstrosities, to eliminate tech heresy wherever it arises. The fusion of faith and technology within the Mechanicus adds a unique layer to the Imperium's war against heresy, as even a stray thought can condemn an individual to death. Together, these key players form an intricate network of vigilance and retribution. Their actions are driven by a singular purpose: to safeguard the Imperium from those who would undermine it. While their methods vary, ranging from public spectacles of execution to secret purges in the dead of night, their goal remains constant. The punishment of heretics is not only a means of maintaining order, but also a demonstration of the Imperium's unyielding resolve. Through their collective efforts, the Imperium has survived countless threats from within, but the cost is immense. The very fabric of society is shaped by fear, with loyalty enforced through the constant specter of punishment. Each heretic punished serves as a stark reminder of the Imperium's fragility and its unrelenting strength. The rise of heretics within the Imperium is not an isolated phenomenon, but the result of a complex interplay of social, spiritual, and political forces. The seeds of heresy are sown in the cracks of the Imperium's vast and often faltering machinery, a byproduct of its immense scale and unyielding dogma. To understand how heretics emerge, one must delve into the systemic and existential pressures that define life within the Imperium. At the heart of the issue lies the Imperium's rigid adherence to the Imperial Creed, a faith built on absolute devotion to the Emperor. While this belief system provides unity and purpose, it also fosters an environment where dissent and inquiry are stifled. In a galaxy as vast and diverse as the Imperium, such rigidity often clashes with local customs, traditions, and independent thought. Isolated planetary populations, cut off from centralized governance for decades or even centuries, may develop practices or beliefs that deviate from the imperial norm. When rediscovered, these deviations are often labeled heretical, regardless of their intent or origin. Another critical factor is the oppressive nature of the Imperium's rule. For the average citizen, life is a brutal struggle for survival, marked by poverty, overwork, and fear. The hive cities that dominate many worlds are labyrinths of misery, where billions toil in service to the Imperium's endless wars. In such conditions, hope becomes a scarce commodity, and despair takes root. Heretical movements often gain traction by offering an alternative, whether it is a promise of liberation, forbidden knowledge, or communion with powers that appear more responsive than the distant and silent Emperor. The allure of forbidden knowledge is particularly potent. The Imperium's dogmatic suppression of innovation and inquiry creates an environment where curiosity itself can be dangerous. Scholars and scientists who seek to expand humanity's understanding of the universe often find themselves labeled as heretics for pursuing lines of thought that challenge the status quo. The Adeptus Mechanicus, while ostensibly allies of the Imperium, contribute to this problem by hoarding technology and treating innovation as sacrilege. This stifling atmosphere ensures that those who dare to question are driven underground, where their work may spiral into genuine heresy. Moreover, the Imperium's reliance on faith and superstition creates fertile ground for the spread of cults. The Warp, a realm of chaotic energy that underpins faster-than-light travel and psychic power, is a constant presence in the lives of Imperial citizens. While most are shielded from its direct influence, whispers of its power seep through the cracks of the Imperium's defenses. Unsanctioned psychers, desperate for control over their abilities, and those seeking answers to their suffering often fall prey to the temptations of the Warp. These individuals can become the nucleus of heretical movements, their corruption spreading like wildfire through vulnerable communities. The constant threat of alien influences also plays a role. Xenospecies, whether through direct manipulation or the mere presence of their technologies, have been the catalyst for countless heretical outbreaks. The allure of alien artifacts, which often surpass anything produced by the Imperium, is too great for many to resist. Inquisitors frequently encounter heretical sects that have embraced Xenos ideologies, either in pursuit of power or in misguided attempts to coexist. Such deviations are met with swift and brutal punishment, yet they persist, driven by the promise of knowledge or salvation. Even the Imperium's own governance contributes to the rise of heretics. The administrative apparatus of the Adeptus Administratum, while vital to the Imperium's survival, is notoriously inefficient and corrupt. Entire sectors can be neglected for centuries, leaving planetary governors to rule as they see fit. This isolation fosters the growth of independent power structures, many of which stray from the Emperor's light over time. When Imperial authorities finally reassert control, these deviations are often discovered too late, having already transformed into deeply entrenched heretical ideologies. The sheer scale of the Imperium also ensures that communication is slow and unreliable. Warp storms, alien invasions, and internal strife frequently sever worlds from contact with the wider Imperium. During these periods of isolation, desperation and fear can drive populations to seek answers outside the bounds of imperial doctrine. Whether it is the emergence of charismatic leaders who preach rebellion or the rise of secretive cults, the result is often the same. Heresy takes root, feeding on the uncertainty and despair that isolation brings. Finally, the specter of chaos looms over all. The Chaos Gods, ever hungry for souls, actively work to corrupt and subvert humanity. Their influence is insidious, infiltrating the Imperium through dreams, whispers, and the promises of power. While some fall willingly into their grasp, others are ensnared through desperation or ignorance. The pervasive nature of chaos ensures that no corner of the Imperium is truly safe, and even the most devout are not immune to its temptations. In examining these factors, it becomes clear that heresy is not merely the result of individual failings or isolated incidents. It is a systemic issue born of the Imperium's contradictions and the harsh realities of survival in a hostile galaxy. The rise of heretics is as much a reflection of the Imperium's flaws as it is a testament to its resilience. Each act of rebellion, each whisper of dissent, highlights the fragile balance that holds this vast empire together. And it is within this balance that the seeds of heresy continue to germinate, waiting for the right conditions to bloom into full-fledged rebellion. The emergence and evolution of heretical movements within the Imperium follow a grimly familiar trajectory, shaped by desperation, ambition, and the relentless pull of forbidden power. Each movement, while unique in its particulars, undergoes a series of identifiable stages that mark its rise, growth, and eventual suppression. Understanding these stages is key to grasping the enduring threat heresy poses to the Imperium. The first stage begins subtly, often unnoticed by those in power. Seeds of discontent are sown in the shadows of hive cities, remote frontier worlds, or the hidden chambers of rogue scholars. These seeds are watered by the suffering and despair that pervade the Imperium, where lives are crushed under the weight of endless toil and unrelenting fear. It might begin with a whispered doubt about the Emperor's divinity, a clandestine gathering to study prescribed texts, or a fleeting encounter with alien artifacts. In these moments, the initial cracks in loyalty are formed. As these seeds take root, they grow into localized networks of dissent. This second stage is characterized by the consolidation of discontent into organized groups, often led by a charismatic figure, be it a rogue preacher, an unsanctioned psyker, or a disillusioned noble. These groups begin to formalize their beliefs and objectives. Whether they seek liberation from oppressive rule, forbidden knowledge, or communion with darker powers, their activities escalate. Symbols and rituals emerge, forging a collective identity that binds them together and distances them from the Imperium's orthodoxy. The third stage sees these heretical movements expanding beyond their initial enclaves, drawing in new recruits and resources. Here, the movement's ideology spreads like wildfire, exploiting existing grievances and weaknesses within the local population. Heretical leaders often promise what the Imperium cannot: hope for a better future, protection from an uncaring bureaucracy, or power beyond imagination. Entire communities may fall under their sway, transforming into bastions of rebellion. During this stage, the movement's influence often remains hidden from imperial authorities, as the heretics carefully avoid attracting attention while solidifying their power base. Inevitably, the fourth stage is marked by exposure. Whether through the investigations of the Adeptus Arbites, the vigilance of an inquisitor, or the betrayal of a disillusioned follower, heretical movements eventually come to the attention of imperial authorities. Once discovered, the Imperium's response is swift and brutal. Arbite squads descend upon suspected strongholds, deploying shock and awe tactics to root out dissenters. Inquisitors interrogate and purge, leaving no stone unturned in their quest to annihilate heretical cells. However, by this stage, many heretical groups have already grown too large or entrenched for simple eradication, leading to open rebellion. The fifth stage, Rebellion, is when heretical movements pose the greatest threat to the Imperium. What begins as sporadic uprisings can escalate into sector-wide insurrections, challenging the Imperium's authority. Heretical leaders rally their followers, declaring open war against the Emperor's rule. They seize planetary capitals, disrupt supply lines, and fortify their positions. The Warp, ever eager to feed on conflict, often exacerbates these uprisings, empowering the Heretics with chaotic energies or drawing them further into its malevolent grasp. As these rebellions escalate, they draw the attention of the Imperium's military forces. The sixth stage is defined by large-scale campaigns to crush heretical uprisings. Planetary defense forces, regiments of the Astra Militarum, and even the elite warriors of the Adeptus Astartes are deployed to restore order. These campaigns are brutal and often devastating, reducing entire worlds to rubble in the pursuit of victory. Siege warfare, orbital bombardments, and mass executions become the order of the day. While the Imperium is relentless in its efforts, the cost of these campaigns, both in resources and lives, is staggering. The seventh stage, Suppression, marks the beginning of the end for most heretical movements. With their strongholds besieged and their followers demoralized, heretical leaders often turn to desperate measures. Some attempt to bargain with their captors, offering information or allegiance in exchange for clemency. Others embrace martyrdom, rallying their followers for a final doomed stand. Inquisitors play a key role during this stage, conducting exhaustive interrogations to root out every trace of heresy and ensure no remnants survive. Despite these efforts, the eighth and final stage reveals the enduring nature of heresy. Even when a movement is crushed, its ideas often linger, buried but not forgotten. Survivors carry the seeds of dissent to new worlds, where they may take root once more. Forbidden texts and artifacts are hidden away, waiting to be rediscovered by future generations. The Warp itself ensures that heresy never truly dies, as its influence seeps into the minds of those vulnerable to its temptations. These stages illustrate the cyclical nature of heresy within the Imperium. Each outbreak, no matter how devastating, is merely a chapter in an ongoing struggle. The Imperium's efforts to suppress heresy are both a testament to its resilience and a reflection of its flaws. For as long as the Imperium remains a beacon of humanity's unity, it will also serve as a crucible for the forces that seek to tear it apart. Among the many cataclysmic events that have defined the Imperium's battle against heresy, the Apostasy of Vandire stands as one of the most infamous. This event not only revealed the depths of human ambition and corruption, but also reshaped the Imperium's mechanisms for dealing with heresy at its highest levels. It was a time of chaos and bloodshed, a stark reminder of how heresy can arise not only in the dark corners of the galaxy, but within the very heart of the Imperium itself. Vandire, a High Lord of Terra and the master of the Administratum, rose to power through cunning, manipulation, and a willingness to exploit the weaknesses of the Imperium's vast bureaucracy. His reign began innocuously enough, marked by a ruthless drive to centralize power. Over time, however, Vandire's ambitions grew darker. Declaring himself the ruler of both the secular and spiritual realms, he claimed to speak with the authority of the Emperor himself, a blasphemous assertion that sent shockwaves through the ecclesiarchy and beyond. The roots of Vandire's heresy lay in his mastery of manipulation. Through fear and coercion, he brought much of the Adeptus Ministorum under his control. Vandire's greatest coup was his recruitment of the Brides of the Emperor, an all-female militant order that would later become the Adepta Sororitas. Convincing them of his divine authority, he turned these devout warriors into his personal enforcers, using their martial prowess to crush dissent and enforce his will. This marked a key turning point, as the Imperium's own faith was weaponized against itself. As Vandire's power grew, so too did his tyranny. Entire planetary systems were brought to their knees under the weight of his decrees. Tithes were raised to unsustainable levels, and those who resisted were declared heretics, their populations massacred in brutal purges. Vandire's paranoia knew no bounds. Even the High Lords of Terra were not immune to his wrath. Rival factions within the Imperium found themselves targeted, with entire noble houses wiped out under the pretense of heresy. The breaking of Dimamar, a pivotal moment in Vandire's reign, serves as a grim example of his heretical excesses. Dimamar, a world loyal to the ecclesiarchy, resisted Vandire's escalating demands for resources and soldiers. In response, Vandire ordered a devastating campaign of extermination. Orbital bombardments reduced cities to ash, while Vandire's enforcers rooted out any who dared speak against him. The destruction of Dimamar was not just a punishment, but a warning to others, a stark demonstration of Vandire's unrelenting authority. Yet, Vandire's actions also sowed the seeds of his downfall. The atrocities committed in his name drew the ire of influential figures within the Imperium. The Adeptus Custodes, guardians of the Emperor himself, grew increasingly suspicious of Vandire's claims to divine authority. Similarly, the resistance among the ecclesiarchy began to coalesce, led by devout individuals who refused to accept Vandire's rule. The pivotal turning point came with the intervention of Sebastian Thor, a charismatic preacher who emerged as the voice of rebellion. Thor's sermons ignited the hearts of millions, rallying entire worlds to resist Vandire's tyranny. Unlike Vandire, who ruled through fear, Thor inspired loyalty through faith and conviction. As Thor's movement gained momentum, it became clear that the Imperium was on the brink of civil war. The age of apostasy reached its climax during the siege of the ecclesiarchal palace. Vandire, barricaded within his stronghold on Terra, faced the combined forces of the Adeptus Custodes, the resistance led by Thor, and even elements of the brides of the Emperor, who began to question Vandire's divinity. The siege was a brutal affair, marked by close-quarters combat and the unyielding determination of both sides. In the end, it was the Adeptus Custodes who delivered the final blow. Breaking into Vandire's inner sanctum, they confronted the self-proclaimed ruler and exposed his lies. According to legend, it was the Emperor himself, speaking through his silent guardians, who denounced Vandire as a heretic. Stripped of his authority and abandoned by his followers, Vandire was executed, his reign of terror brought to a decisive end. The fall of Goga Vandire marked a turning point in the Imperium's history. The heresy that had nearly consumed its heart was purged, but the scars of the apostasy lingered. Reforms were enacted to prevent such a catastrophe from recurring, including the separation of the ecclesiarchy's spiritual and military powers. The brides of the Emperor, chastened by their role in Vandire's tyranny, were reformed into the Adepta Sororitas, sworn to serve as the ecclesiarchy's defenders rather than its enforcers. The Age of Apostasy stands as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the Imperium's resilience. It revealed the devastating potential of heresy when left unchecked, but it also demonstrated the power of faith and unity in overcoming even the darkest of times. The echoes of this era continue to resonate, shaping the Imperium's unyielding stance against heresy and its relentless pursuit of justice. The impact of heresy reverberates throughout the Imperium, influencing not only the immediate victims, but also the broader structure of the galaxy-spanning empire. Heretical movements, whether localized or galactic in scale, threaten the fragile stability upon which the Imperium rests. Their punishments, equally far-reaching, serve as grim reminders of the consequences of deviation from the Emperor's light. When heresy takes root, it destabilizes entire sectors. The fracturing of planetary governance, the collapse of supply chains, and the loss of trust in imperial authorities are just some of the immediate consequences. The Imperium, already stretched thin by constant warfare, cannot afford such disruptions. Entire campaigns may falter if vital resources are redirected to suppress heretical uprisings. Worse still, the chaos caused by heretics often provides an opening for Xenos incursions or demonic invasions, compounding the devastation. One of the most insidious effects of heresy is the erosion of faith. For an empire built on spiritual unity, the spread of doubt is as dangerous as any physical rebellion. Witnessing the downfall of a trusted leader or the betrayal of a revered institution can shake even the most devout believers. The psychological toll on Imperial citizens is immense as they grapple with the fear that heresy could lurk anywhere, even within their own hearts. This atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia serves to isolate individuals, making them more susceptible to the very heretical influences they fear. To combat these threats, the Imperium employs a vast array of punishments designed not only to eradicate heresy, but to instill fear and obedience. The methods vary widely, reflecting the diversity of heretical acts and the severity of their consequences. Public executions are among the most common forms of punishment. In hive cities, heretics are often paraded through crowded streets before being subjected to gruesome deaths. Burning at the stake, flaying, and dismemberment are just a few of the macabre spectacles used to reinforce loyalty among the populace. These executions are not merely punitive. They are carefully staged to maximize their psychological impact. For those deemed particularly dangerous, more elaborate punishments are reserved. Excruciatus chambers employed by the Inquisition are designed to inflict unbearable pain while extracting confessions and information. These chambers are equipped with devices ranging from neural flares to psychic amplifiers, ensuring that no secret remains hidden. Heretics subjected to these tortures rarely survive, but their suffering serves as a stark warning to others. On a larger scale, entire populations can be punished for harboring heretical elements. Exterminatus, the complete destruction of a planet, is the ultimate expression of the Imperium's zero-tolerance policy. Reserved for worlds deemed irredeemably corrupted, Exterminatus obliterates all life, leaving nothing for heresy to cling to. This act is not undertaken lightly, as it represents the loss of valuable resources and territory. However, it underscores the Imperium's willingness to sacrifice entire planets to preserve the greater whole. Not all punishments are immediate. The Imperium also utilizes methods of prolonged suffering to ensure heretics serve as lasting examples. Penal colonies and mining worlds are common destinations for those whose crimes do not warrant execution but are severe enough to demand permanent exile. These individuals are subjected to backbreaking labor under inhumane conditions, their lives reduced to endless toil in service of the Emperor. Few survive long, but their existence is a testament to the Imperium's relentless pursuit of justice. In cases of heresy linked to psychic corruption or warp influence, the punishments take on an even darker tone. Unsanctioned psychers are often handed over to the Black Ships, where they are drained of their life force to fuel the Astronomicon or executed to prevent further contamination. Those who have succumbed to chaos are subjected to rites of purification, which often involve excruciating pain and eventual death. These rituals are conducted not only to cleanse the individual, but to sever any connection they may have to the warp, ensuring that no trace of their corruption lingers. The Adeptus Mechanicus has its own unique approach to dealing with tech heresy. Those who defy the strict dogma of the machine cult are subjected to procedures that strip them of their individuality. Tech heresy is often punished by lobotomization, turning the offender into a servitor, an automaton devoid of will or personality. These servitors are then repurposed for menial tasks, serving as both a tool for the Imperium and a cautionary tale for others who might stray from the Omnissiah's teachings. Despite the severity of these punishments, they are not always effective in eradicating heresy. The Imperium's methods, while brutal, often fail to address the underlying causes of dissent. The crushing weight of its bureaucracy, the inescapable poverty of its citizens, and the ever-present influence of chaos ensure that heresy remains a perpetual threat. Moreover, the spectacle of public punishment can sometimes backfire, inspiring fear, but also resentment. For every heretic burned at the stake, there are those who view them as martyrs, their deaths planting the seeds of future rebellion. Ultimately, the punishments meted out to heretics serve a dual purpose. They eliminate immediate threats while reinforcing the Imperium's authority. Yet, the cycle of heresy and punishment persists, a grim reflection of the Imperium's unyielding but fragile nature. In this endless struggle, the Imperium's survival depends not only on its ability to punish heresy, but on its capacity to maintain the faith and loyalty of its people, a task as daunting as the galaxy itself. Heresy within the Imperium does not simply grow from despair or corruption. It thrives on propaganda. The heretics' ability to sow dissent, rally followers, and subvert imperial authority relies heavily on the manipulation of perception and belief. In the vast oppressive landscape of the Imperium, where communication is sparse and control is absolute, propaganda becomes both a weapon and a shield for those who defy the Emperor's will. Heretical propaganda often begins subtly, taking advantage of the cracks in the Imperium's armor. In the grinding poverty of hive cities, whispers of a better life can spread like wildfire. Heretical leaders promise liberation from the crushing tithes, deliverance from the unfeeling bureaucracy, or enlightenment beyond the sanctioned teachings of the ecclesiarchy. These ideas are carefully tailored to resonate with the oppressed and desperate, transforming dissatisfaction into rebellion. The language of heresy is crafted to exploit the Imperium's weaknesses. Heretical leaders often adopt the tone and symbols of imperial doctrine, twisting them to serve their own ends. A renegade preacher may speak of the Emperor not as a divine ruler, but as a liberator who despises the corruption of the ecclesiarchy. By cloaking rebellion in the trappings of faith, these figures undermine the Imperium's monopoly on spiritual authority, making their heretical message more palatable to the masses. Imagery plays a vital role in heretical propaganda. Whether through physical banners or psychic broadcasts, heretics often employ symbols that evoke power and hope. The broken aquila, a defiled version of the Imperium's iconic double-headed eagle, is a common motif representing freedom from oppression. In other cases, heretics may adopt entirely new symbols, designed to inspire loyalty among their followers while signaling defiance to imperial forces. These visuals are disseminated through graffiti, relics, or even acts of public defiance, such as burning imperial banners in view of the populace. One of the most insidious forms of propaganda is the use of martyrdom. Heretics who are captured and executed by imperial forces often become posthumous icons for their cause. Their deaths are framed as sacrifices for the greater good, turning them into symbols of resistance. This phenomenon is particularly potent in cases where imperial punishment is perceived as unjust or excessively brutal. Each martyr fuels the flames of rebellion, their memory perpetuating the heretical movement long after their demise. Heretics with access to psychic abilities or advanced technology can amplify their propaganda efforts to terrifying effect. Psychers corrupted by the warp are capable of planting ideas directly into the minds of their targets, bypassing traditional means of communication. A single whisper in a crowded hive can grow into a movement, the psycher's influence spreading like a virus. Similarly, heretics who have seized Mechanicus technology can broadcast their messages across entire worlds, hijacking Vox networks or subverting imperial pickcasters to flood the airwaves with their doctrines. Alien influences also play a role in the evolution of heretical propaganda. Xenos species, particularly those adept at psychological manipulation, often exploit human weaknesses to further their own agendas. The Genestealer cults are a prime example, using psychic signals to create a sense of unity and purpose among their human hosts. These signals are reinforced by imagery and rhetoric that paint the alien infestation as a path to salvation. By the time the Imperium discovers the truth, the cult's propaganda has already taken deep root, turning entire populations against their supposed saviors. Chaos, with its seductive allure, excels at creating propaganda that resonates on a deeply personal level. The Chaos Gods offer power, freedom, and the fulfillment of desires that the Imperium denies. Their whispers adapt to the individual, promising strength to the weak vengeance to the wronged, or immortality to the ambitious. This deeply personal approach makes chaos propaganda particularly dangerous, as it bypasses collective belief systems and targets the vulnerabilities of the individual. Heresy also exploits the Imperium's failures, turning its own actions into weapons against it. When the Arbites crush a peaceful protest with overwhelming force, heretics frame the incident as proof of the Imperium's tyranny. When an Inquisitor purges an entire village to root out a single psyker, the survivors are filled with rage and despair, fertile ground for heretical ideologies. These moments of overreach are amplified through heretical narratives, creating a cycle of rebellion and repression that feeds on itself. Despite their vast resources, the Imperium struggles to counter heretical propaganda effectively. Its own messages are rigid and dogmatic, leaving little room for nuance or adaptation. The Imperial Creed demands obedience, but it often fails to address the underlying grievances that drive heretical movements. The result is a communication gap that heretics exploit, presenting themselves as the only viable alternative to the Imperium's oppressive rule. The ultimate goal of heretical propaganda is not merely to subvert the Imperium, but to reshape the perception of reality itself. By reframing faith, history, and identity, heretics create a world in which their rebellion is not only justified, but necessary. This reimagining of reality becomes a self-reinforcing cycle, as each victory, no matter how small, is celebrated as proof of their ideology's truth. In this battle for hearts and minds, the Imperium's greatest strength, its unyielding faith in the Emperor, also becomes its greatest vulnerability. Heretical propaganda thrives in the spaces where faith falters, where the Emperor's light seems dim and distant. In these shadows, heretics build their power, weaving narratives that challenge the very foundation of imperial control. The fight against heresy, then, is not just a war of armies and executions, but a contest of ideas, one in which the stakes are nothing less than the soul of humanity. Throughout the Imperium's long history, many individuals have risen to prominence through their relentless pursuit of heretics. These figures, drawn from various arms of the imperial hierarchy, are celebrated, or feared, for their unwavering dedication to rooting out corruption and preserving the Emperor's vision. Their methods, philosophies, and legacies are as diverse as the Imperium itself, but they share a common purpose: the eradication of heresy in all its forms. One of the most infamous names in this grim roster is Torquemada Koteas, a legendary inquisitor of the Ordo Malleus. Known for his unflinching resolve and unshakable faith, Koteas's reputation rests on his ability to uncover heresy even in its most hidden forms. His methods were meticulous and often brutal, employing psychic interrogation, covert surveillance, and large-scale purges to cleanse sectors of corruption. What set Koteas apart was his willingness to act without hesitation, even if it meant alienating allies or sacrificing entire populations. His unyielding approach made him both a hero and a cautionary tale within the Inquisition. Another towering figure in the fight against heresy is Saint Celestine, a warrior saint whose miraculous deeds inspire millions across the Imperium. Though primarily a symbol of faith and hope, Celestine has also been instrumental in purging heretics, leading the Adepta Sororitas into battle against countless rebellions and cults. Her presence on the battlefield is said to strengthen the resolve of the faithful while striking terror into the hearts of heretics. Celestine's canonization as a saint solidified her role as a beacon of the Emperor's will, her life and deeds serving as a reminder of the divine retribution that awaits those who stray from his light. Within the ranks of the Adeptus Arbites, Marshal Gale Routh is renowned for his relentless campaigns against heretical movements on hive worlds. Routh's career was defined by his ability to dismantle complex networks of dissent and rebellion, using his deep understanding of hive politics and criminal organizations. His most famous operation, the Iron Veil Purge, saw him systematically dismantle a sprawling heretical conspiracy that had infiltrated multiple hive cities. Routh's combination of tactical brilliance and unyielding discipline earned him a reputation as one of the Arbites' most effective enforcers. The Adeptus Mechanicus also has its share of notable figures in the fight against heresy. Magos Dominus Archon Land, though more commonly associated with technological innovation, played a significant role in suppressing tech heresy during his time. Land's campaigns against rogue tech cults were marked by his ability to outthink and outmaneuver his adversaries, often using their own corrupted technologies against them. His actions not only preserved the sanctity of the Mechanicus, but also set a precedent for dealing with heretical deviations in the realm of technology. Inquisitor Gideon Ravenor, a member of the Ordo Xenos, became legendary not just for his battles against alien threats, but for his ruthless pursuit of heretical collaborators. Severely wounded and confined to a life support system, Ravenor's physical limitations did nothing to diminish his effectiveness. Using his formidable psychic abilities and a team of loyal operatives, Ravenor exposed and dismantled heretical networks that had aligned themselves with Xenos factions. His ability to operate with precision and foresight made him one of the most respected figures in the Inquisition. Sebastian Thor, though best known for leading the rebellion against Goga Vandire during the Age of Apostasy, also gained renown for his subsequent efforts to cleanse the ecclesiarchy of corruption. Thor's reforms were not just political, but spiritual, focusing on rooting out heretical elements within the Church's hierarchy. His tireless dedication to restoring the purity of the faith left a lasting impact, ensuring that the ecclesiarchy remained a bulwark against heresy for centuries to come. Another figure of note is Commissar Schiaffus Cain, though his reputation is more complicated. Often celebrated as a hero of the Imperium, Cain's campaigns against heretics and chaos cults were marked by a mixture of cunning, luck, and a knack for survival. Despite his self-proclaimed cowardice, Cain repeatedly found himself at the center of heretical uprisings, where his quick thinking and unorthodox tactics turned the tide in favor of the Imperium. Cain's accounts, while often humorous, reveal the harsh realities of combating heresy on the ground level, where faith and survival are constantly tested. Among the Sisters of Silence, Silent Sister Amandera Kendall is revered for her role in identifying and suppressing psychic heresy. Kendall's abilities as a null made her particularly effective against rogue psychers and warp-touched heretics, her mere presence severing their connection to the Immaterium. Kendall's actions during the Great Scouring, where she led numerous operations to cleanse psyker-led heretical cults, solidified her legacy as one of the Sisters' most effective operatives. Even the Imperial Navy has its heroes in the fight against heresy. Admiral Hector Varius gained fame for his decisive actions during the Thauran Rebellion, where heretical forces had commandeered an entire fleet. Varius's bold tactics and unwavering resolve led to the destruction of the traitor fleet, preventing their incursion into Loyalist territory. His actions not only preserved the sector, but also demonstrated the Navy's critical role in suppressing large-scale heretical threats. These individuals, drawn from all corners of the Imperium's vast apparatus, represent the diversity and intensity of its struggle against heresy. Each brought their own skills, perspectives, and sacrifices to the fight, shaping the Imperium's response to one of its most enduring threats. Their stories serve as both inspiration and warning, illustrating the unyielding vigilance required to hold back the tide of heresy in an unforgiving galaxy. The mysteries surrounding heretics and their origins are as vast as the galaxy itself, shrouded in a blend of speculation, forbidden knowledge, and unspeakable truths. These enigmas fuel both fear and fascination as the Imperium grapples with the ever-present threat of heresy. From whispered legends of hidden cabals to theories of ancient conspiracies, the unknown looms large in the Imperium's unending struggle to maintain order. One of the most pervasive mysteries is the question of why heresy persists despite millennia of relentless suppression. Some scholars speculate that heresy is not merely a symptom of human frailty, but a fundamental aspect of existence in the warp-saturated galaxy. According to this theory, the constant presence of the warp influences the minds of humanity, seeding dissent and rebellion as a natural byproduct of its chaotic energy. This idea, though dangerous to articulate, suggests that heresy might be an inevitable condition rather than a preventable phenomenon. There are also unsettling rumors of ancient heretical texts and artifacts predating even the rise of the Emperor. The Dark Age of technology, a time of unimaginable progress and hubris, is often cited as the origin of these relics. Many believe that the forbidden knowledge of this era was not entirely lost, but lies hidden in vaults, waiting to corrupt those who seek it. Some whisper of the Black Library, a mythical repository of knowledge said to contain both the secrets of chaos and the keys to humanity's salvation. The existence of such a place remains unconfirmed, but its legend serves as a tantalizing lure for heretical scholars. Another enduring enigma is the role of chaos in the emergence of heresy. While it is clear that the chaos gods and their servants actively corrupt and manipulate humanity, their ultimate goals remain obscure. Some theorists posit that chaos thrives not just on destruction, but on the very act of rebellion, using heresy as a means to perpetuate its influence in the material universe. This raises troubling questions about whether the Imperium's draconian methods of suppression, by fostering fear and desperation, might inadvertently serve the interests of the ruinous powers. Within the Imperium itself, there are whispered fears of heretical infiltration at the highest levels. The Inquisition, for all its secrecy and power, is not immune to these suspicions. Stories abound of rogue inquisitors who have embraced heretical ideologies under the guise of protecting humanity. Some believe that entire cells within the Inquisition operate as heretical cabals, using their authority to pursue forbidden knowledge and influence imperial policy. These accusations are almost impossible to prove, as the Inquisition operates above traditional accountability, but the mere possibility casts a shadow over its actions. Equally mysterious are the origins of certain heretical cults, which appear seemingly from nowhere, armed with knowledge and resources far beyond what their circumstances should allow. Theories abound that these groups are secretly funded or even created by Xenos factions or rogue imperial elements. The sudden appearance of well-armed and ideologically cohesive cults in previously loyal regions suggests a level of coordination that defies explanation. Theories of deep networks of hidden operatives, referred to in some circles as sleeper cults, persist, though evidence is scarce and often suppressed. Among the most chilling mysteries are the so-called echoes of heresy, unexplained phenomena linked to past rebellions or corrupted worlds. There are accounts of abandoned hive cities where heretical symbols appear etched into walls overnight, long after the heretics have been purged. Ghostly chants and flickering shadows have been reported in regions where chaos cults once thrived, leading some to speculate that heresy leaves an imprint on reality itself. These phenomena are often dismissed as superstition, but the consistency of reports suggests a deeper, more disturbing truth. Another unsettling question is whether some acts of heresy are orchestrated not by external forces, but by the Imperium itself. Conspiracy theories suggest that certain rebellions or outbreaks of dissent are fabricated to justify purges, consolidate power, or distract from internal failures. While such claims are officially dismissed as heretical themselves, the Imperium's opaque and often contradictory methods leave room for speculation. The possibility that the Imperium might create or manipulate heresy for its own ends is a deeply unsettling prospect. Even the process of rooting out heresy is not without its own mysteries. The methods employed by the Inquisition and other imperial forces are shrouded in secrecy, with entire operations carried out under the cover of night and with no records left behind. Survivors of purges sometimes speak of strange rites performed by inquisitors, involving artifacts and rituals that seem at odds with the Emperor's teachings. Whether these accounts are the ramblings of traumatized minds or glimpses of darker truths is a matter of heated debate among those brave enough to investigate. Finally, the most profound mystery is the question of redemption. Can heretics ever truly be brought back into the Emperor's light, or is their corruption irrevocable? Official doctrine insists that heresy must be eradicated, but there are tales of individuals who have repented and been spared, only to achieve great acts of loyalty in service to the Imperium. These rare cases fuel debates among theologians and inquisitors alike as they challenge the black and white morality upon which the Imperium's justice is built. The secrets and mysteries surrounding heretics ensure that the fight against them is never straightforward. Each new discovery, whether it is an ancient text, a shadowy cabal, or an unexplained phenomenon, adds to the complexity of the Imperium's struggle. In this labyrinth of half-truths and speculation, one thing remains certain. The fight against heresy is as much a battle for understanding as it is a war of faith and fire. The war against heresy is an unending struggle, a battle not only of weapons and fire, but of belief and will. The Imperium's relentless pursuit of heretics has defined its identity, shaping its institutions, culture, and the very lives of its countless citizens. Yet, for all its victories, the Imperium remains locked in a perpetual cycle of rebellion and retribution. The forces of heresy adapt, evolve, and re-emerge, ensuring that the fight is never truly over. In this vast, oppressive empire, where faith is both shield and sword, the punishment of heresy serves as a dire warning and a grim necessity. Heretics are not merely punished for their transgressions, they are obliterated from existence, their legacies erased to protect the Imperium's fragile unity. The galaxy itself bears the scars of these conflicts. Entire worlds rendered lifeless, hive cities reduced to ashes, and countless lives sacrificed to preserve the Emperor's vision. Yet, in the shadows of these victories, questions linger. How many innocents have been swept up in the purges, their lives ended for crimes they did not commit? How many movements, initially born from genuine grievances, were driven into rebellion by the Imperium's unyielding rigidity? These questions remain unanswered, buried beneath the weight of the Imperium's iron resolve. For the citizens of the Imperium, the specter of heresy is both a distant horror and an omnipresent threat. The average individual, toiling in the endless grind of hive cities or on barren agri-worlds, may never encounter a true heretic, but lives in constant fear of accusation. The fear of denunciation, interrogation, or worse, serves as a powerful tool for maintaining order, but comes at the cost of trust and cohesion. Entire communities are bound together by shared faith, yet divided by suspicion. The Inquisition, ecclesiarchy, arbites, and countless other institutions dedicated to rooting out heresy play a vital role in maintaining the Imperium's stability. Their successes are celebrated, their failures hidden, and their methods shrouded in secrecy. For every heretical movement crushed, countless lives are consumed in the flames of justice. The scale of their actions is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a reflection of the immense stakes involved in preserving humanity's place in the galaxy. Yet, heresy persists. It survives in the unspoken doubts of the faithful, the whispers of forbidden knowledge, and the seductive promises of power from the warp. It thrives in the shadows of despair, where the Emperor's light seems distant and faint. No matter how many heretics are purged, the conditions that give rise to heresy, oppression, suffering, and the constant presence of chaos ensure that it will never truly be eradicated. In this eternal struggle, the Imperium itself is transformed. The machinery of persecution grows ever more efficient, ever more brutal. The line between justice and tyranny blurs, and the cost of survival becomes harder to justify. For every victory, there are questions of what has been sacrificed: faith, humanity, or the very ideals upon which the Imperium was built. The galaxy watches as the Imperium marches forward, its banners held high, its faith unbroken. To its enemies, it is a monolith of unassailable power. To its citizens, it is both protector and oppressor. And to those who stand in opposition, heretics, rebels, and traitors, it is a force that will stop at nothing to ensure their destruction. In the end, the story of heresy and its punishment is the story of the Imperium itself, a tale of survival against impossible odds, of unity forged through faith and fire. It is a testament to humanity's resilience and its capacity for both greatness and cruelty. As long as the Imperium endures, so too will the battle against heresy, a battle without end, fought in the Emperor's name. The galaxy burns, yet the Imperium stands, defiant and unyielding. The heretics who challenge it are crushed, their ashes scattered to the stars. But in the silence that follows, the seeds of the next rebellion are already being sown, waiting for the moment to rise again. And so the cycle continues, a grim reflection of the Imperium's eternal struggle to preserve itself in a universe that seeks its destruction.